loves. Thank you so much for being here. This is Andrea Luzon, Legacy Liberator. I help heart-centered leaders liberate their love legacy. Maybe you are a leader in your family, maybe you are a leader in a business or your community, or maybe you're just trying to lead your life and land more deeply in who the bleep am I? What are my values? What are my intentions for my life? Do I feel fully alive in this body, in this mind? Am I connected with my soul? Do I feel like I'm living on purpose in a passionate, powerful way? That's the kind of work that really excites me. That's why I call myself the legacy liberator. It's not just about money and things and objects and toys and all the things. It's also about the imprint that you're making. So in your leadership, in your life, you are making waves of impact, whether you think you are or not. And the truth of it is that many of us are impacting from a deep wounded place. And that's what's permeating our relationships and our workplace. So I want to help all of us come home to that true north, that love legacy, that unique imprint that you make on hearts and minds, your presence, your words, and your deeds. So if you're wondering where you are here, let's see, on Facebook, we are in the Awake, Free, Expansive community. And that's because those are the words that came in when I was first coming forward as a energy healer and life coach. It was like, I want to live fully awake. I want to be free of my blocks. And I want to feel like my life is expanding instead of contracting. So Awake, Free, Expansive community on Facebook. And over here, hello, Instagram, we are streaming into ADHD Love Legacy. And that brings me to the people who really speak to my heart, which is individuals that are experiencing some neurodivergence in their life. So we are in a neurodiverse world, and yet our academia, our public systems seem to be gravitated towards a neurotypical, or like we all need to fit into a box. So I really want to support parents like me who are going through life supporting someone who has been diagnosed by Western medicine as having a disorder, whether that be autism or sensory processing or oppositional defiance or attention deficit hyperactivity. So that's why I have the ADHD Love Legacy here on Instagram. So thank you all for coming. I'd love for us all to take a nice deep inhale. Breathe in nice and deep. And exhale out anything not serving you in this moment. And I love to shake on my exhale. Another nice deep inhale on your next in-breath. Make it nice and luscious. And then exhale out. Letting go of anything that you can set down. And it's really, you can pick up any of your concerns when we're done here today. But I invite you to, through the deepening of your breath, just come more present to this moment and just let some of that melt off of you, just even temporarily. If it's in your highest good, pick it back up when we're done, but let's let it go for this time we have together. You may not know, or you may know, that August is anti-bullying month. So August is really about us claiming our own truth, because I'd like to talk about the inner bully. Yes, there is bullying out there in the world, and we can do another session that is about that if you're experiencing bullying externally. But today, as a life coach and energy healer who supports people in coming home to themselves, I would like to talk about a bully that might be living in your head and in your body. And oftentimes, this was simply programming from your caregivers or peers. Could have been some family member or someone in the community that created some stories inside of you. Somehow you picked up some stories around your worthiness, around your value. Maybe there is some compare and despair. I'm not where she is. I'm not that far ahead. I don't belong. Stories like this. And I'd love to speak a little bit about the psychology of the negativity bias. This negativity bias is, it helps us learn. And long ago, when we were living in caves and tribes, we learned fastest when we were scanning the horizon, looking for threats, looking for anything that challenged our safety. And now that we're sitting at desks behind computers, there's still a lot of that in our DNA. So we're scanning relationships, looking for threats. We're jumping to assumptions of being attacked, being devalued. And that I may not be speaking for everyone here. Maybe you have done all the inner work and you have shed those old stories. I actually have a video on my website, andrealuzon.com. You can sign up for actually 10 very short video clips that support us in shedding the old story and stepping into our greatness, stepping into our love legacy. And it's a lot of it is body deprogramming, because a lot of that pain lives in our bodies. And so that reactivity, whether it be run away, cry, fight, that reactivity is like in our cells. And then suddenly we find ourselves speaking in ways we didn't intend or we're not proud of, or we find ourselves jumping to conclusions. So I'd love for us to just breathe that in for a moment and just give ourselves a moment of grace, just a moment of breath, a moment of giving ourselves some grace that these stories do tend to pop up from time to time. For those of you who have been here before, you know that my son has been diagnosed with ADHD from when he was quite young, like age 3, 4, and he's now 9.5. And there are times when I experience his outburst or his disagreement as an attack or as judgment, or I suddenly, that old story of not belonging, that old story of feeling not enough or feeling shamed, it's like the interaction in my life is like pushing that button. And then I find myself coming from the executive functioning of the brain down into the emotional area, or even in survival. Like, I don't feel safe right now. And all of a sudden I'm responding to the interaction from an emotional or a survival state. Some people call it the lizard brain. Like, all we want to do is get away, or all we want to do is feel safe. And so we suddenly get puffy and big and loud and aggressive, or maybe we shrink and we flee and we freeze up, and all of a sudden our brain isn't online. So those kinds of behaviors are often linked to that wounding that creates that bully, that inner, like, I'm not good enough. Some kind of story that has you talking to yourself in your head, whether you're conscious of it or not, and there's some shaming going on. There's some diminishing of your value and how amazing and important you are to this planet, to all of us. Like, that heart-centered leader is there in you, and that love legacy is there in you. And yet, what is the button that's being pushed in the moment? Am I able to connect with my love legacy and speak from my highest good and my most intentional place of value, my value structure? Or is the button getting pushed of those past wounds? And then I'm responding from that place instead of from my intentions, my integrity, my wholeness, my worthiness, my divine wisdom. So let's all take a breath together. So let yourself just sit with that. Are there any feelings coming up? Are there any stories coming up? Are you having any epiphanies or breakthrough just from information? And if not, then I would love for us to explore an exercise together. I always love to incorporate movement in these momentum rituals. Movement really can help us shake loose the parts of us that aren't working, the parts of us that are stuck. So let's go there. Let's go to that. So Oftentimes I work with my clients and we talk about being triggered or feeling stuck. We feel stuck in a situation and we're like, I just keep making the same choice over and over again. Why am I stuck in this behavior? Or else we are feeling triggered and it's almost the same. We're stuck in a pattern and we're noticing that we're letting life keeps getting to me, or I keep overreacting, or I keep showing up in this way that I don't want to. It really comes back to a place of stuckness. And I'd love to support you in shifting out of that. My recommendation is to give yourself CPR. Give yourself CPR to get unstuck. Letter C is for centered. Get yourself centered and then get curious about your options. So getting centered is breath, nice deep in breath. And there are so many modalities that can help you center in a moment. I also love tapping, taking my middle finger and my thumb and just bringing them together, open, close, open, close, open, close. You can do that with your arms crossed while listening to someone. You can have your hands at your sides. And whatever is the centering practice that helps you in the moment come back to that integral part of you, that whole loving, caring, on purpose part of you. So center. And then get curious about your options. What else is present here? When my son is having what I experience it as a tantrum or breakdown or not being a team player, that's the story I'm in. And yet, what else is possible? Has he eaten? Has he gotten enough sleep? Has he moved his body enough to shake off the stuckness that happens in little boys? Is he not wanting to do XYZ because he believes that won't get him another thing that he wants? So there's so much more possible than the story that I'm connecting with, that tender place that feels pushed right now. There are so many options of what else could be going on with him and could be going on with us. Also me, what's my mood been like today? Are we exacerbating each other? Like, are we stoking the fire by both of us being a bit off balance right now? Okay, so CPR, how to get unstuck. Center yourself and get curious about your options. P is for prioritize. Prioritize what is in line with my values. I believe that I am a loving, connected, courageous individual. As I am feeling the trigger happen in my body and I can feel the reactivity with my son, is that loving? Like, is how I'm feeling the urge to respond, is that my loving self? Is that my connected self? Is that my courageous self? Or am I full on in the lizard brain, just reacting from my wounds? So P, the letter P in the CPR is prioritize. What do I want to create with this person? What do I want to stand for in my life? Is that what's about to come out? Is that my next step? And then lastly is to respond. Then you get to respond because you have centered yourself, you've gotten curious about the options, and then you have prioritized in line with your values, in line with your integrity, your intentions. So then you respond. And I love to add to that R of respond, I love to add restore responsibility. Restoring responsibility can be something as simple as saying, hey, I'm feeling triggered right now. I'm going to step away so that I can come back into this conversation and give you the respect that you deserve. It can be as simple as that. Restoring responsibility, I actually have like a whole process that you can take yourself through, whether it's a clearing conversation or boundary setting, but you get to respond. The CPR, the R is for respond by restoring responsibility. Claim what is yours to claim in the situation. Okay, I don't know how we got here, but I am feeling very emotionally dysregulated. I'm going to step away. And then in 5 minutes, let's come back to this conversation. It can be as simple as that. Restoring responsibility can just be claiming like, ooh, I am feeling really hot and upset. I'm going to take 5 minutes. I will be back. Okay, so along those lines, Coming back to the centered step, the step of centering, I would love for us to explore. Here's our movement and our coming home. This is going to be our centered and our body movement exploration today. This is called the psychological sigh. Psychological sigh. Okay, so you're going to take a nice deep in breath, as deep as you can, and then another little tiny in breath, and then you're going to sigh out with sound. And I'm going to put my feet on the floor because I highly recommend pushing your feet into the floor, almost like stomping, and then letting a shimmy work its way up through your body from the knees to the hips to the shoulders. Okay, so psychological sigh is really deep in breath. One more little in breath. And then we're going to go and shake it out. Outstanding. Okay, a lot of times we're dancing and doing a lot more movement, but today I would like to ground you in this exercise for how to silence that inner bully, come home to your true north, your love legacy, and explore this psychological sigh. Maybe when you take the break from this moment of trigger, when you head off to the bathroom or go to the backyard, this psychological sigh can be so supportive of you. So we're going to deep in breath, one little more tiny in breath. So you're going to be feeling really full of air. And then I need you to sigh out with sound and let your body move. And you can move in any way that feels good for you. So here we go. We're going to practice this one more time. So blow out some air. Now deep in breath, fill up your chest. One more in breath. And then wow. Okay. So no feeling silly here. This is really about you deprogramming those cells inside your body that are keeping you stuck, finding your way home. This is about finding your way home. If you've been here before, you know that we always grab, we do a bit of journaling. So I challenge you to grab a notebook and pen or a piece of paper and a writing utensil. Oh, and I would love for you to write down, where in my life do I sometimes get stuck? Sometimes get stuck. Where in my life do I sometimes get stuck? Okay, and if you're driving, then just allow yourself to think about this and really do your best to not be judging, just to be observing. Eckhart Tolle talks about the watcher versus the thinker. And most humans think that we are our thoughts. And yet there's a deeper place within us that can just watch the thoughts, watch our behavior. So dialing into that for just a moment, where in my life do I sometimes get stuck? Okay. And this isn't about listing 20 things. Maybe just pick one. Okay. So I'm moving us along here today. Okay. What are my true intentions and outcomes I want in that situation? Okay. I know that's kind of a doozy. What are my true intentions and desired outcomes? Desired outcomes I want in that situation. What are my true intentions and desired outcomes I want in that situation? So if you're driving, do not close your eyes. If you're with me in a safe place where you can allow your eyelids to close and just notice your breath for a moment. What are my true desired outcomes in that situation? Okay. And you can always come back to this recording. If you go to YouTube, you can just look for Andrea Luzon, Andrea Luzon. You can also ask to join my Facebook community, which is the Awake Free, I think it's Awake Free Community, all one word. And then here on Instagram, just follow me on Instagram. I will get this recording posted today so that you can come back to these questions. So I'm trusting that you landed in some of your integrity of what you want to create in that trigger stuckness situation. I will share what I'm dialing in with, but not until we move on to the last question. I usually always have 3 questions when we explore further within ourselves at the end of these sessions. And that question is, what is one practice I can give myself today that will support me in coming home to my true intentions for my life? What is one practice I can give myself today that will support me in coming home to my true intentions for my life? Breathing that in. What is one practice I can give myself today that will support me in coming home to my true intentions for my life? So just breathe that in one more time on your next in-breath. Make it nice and deep. We can even do that psychological sigh together. Whoa, little shimmy. So I'm trusting that these 3 questions are supporting you in coming home to your love legacy, your unique imprint that you make on hearts and minds through your presence, your words, and your actions. And that most importantly, the relationship with self, this is the origin of the love legacy. Then we can live the love legacy in our outer experience. But it has to start here. There has to be the home base. And then we can go out in life and play from that true, authentic place. Okay, so we are settling in to shift out of our session today. And I'd love everyone, if you're open to it, place one hand on heart. I love to place the other hand on my belly. And let's just explore a really deep, nourishing breath. Blow out some air. And breathing in. Shake off anything that this brought up today. Let your hands hang loose. Shake out those hands. I like to push my feet. I have a bouncy chair, but I like to push my feet into the ground and like, shaking that off. So much gratitude for your presence today, for your love, for your energy. I'd love to explore further if that's something that you feel would be supportive. You can find out more about my work at andrealuzon.com.